Nearly every Penn State student has seen or heard about the Willard preacher. He has become a local institution, standing day in and day out in front of the Willard building, preaching to everyone walking by. We set out to discover whether the Willard preacher's tactics are effective or appropriate on a college campus. Through our research, however, we have come to realize that the real question is if students even have a fair idea of who the Willard preacher is or how he welcomes discussion. To better understand the issue, we must first understand the history of the Willard preacher, and who better to ask than the Willard preacher himself?
Well, I didn't grow up in any religion. My parents just kind of left it up to us to decide what we wanted to do. They didn't go to church or anything. But I began to question, maybe my senior year of high school, I was just kind of looking at the prospect of getting out of high school and trying to find something to do and didn't know what I wanted to do, and so I started to question what life was about. There was a guy here before me. He started in 1977, and he was actually instrumental in me becoming Christian. I became Christian in 1982 in August, and then I thought that God wanted me to do what he was doing, so I picked it up in November of 1982 and been doing it since then.
To further understand both sides of the issue, we set out to get the perspective of his audience.
I guess I come from a world where religion is more of a private matter, and people really aren't telling you what to follow or what to believe in.
Sometimes he gets a little bit controversial and stuff. I mean, I'm a Christian, but I don't really think that as direct as he does it. It's, he says a lot of true things that I agree with, but the method that he does it is kind of harsh.
I don't know, I feel like he's yelling at all of us, even though we haven't done anything to him.
I think with the one you're referring to that hangs around Willard, I respect what he does, and I think he does create a lot of discussion amongst the students, which I think is good for critical thinking and stuff like that. I don't think he's really I never feel attacked by him or anything. He just kind of does his thing and stands there and talks in a monotone voice. And it's if you want to listen, you can listen. And if you don't, you can just keep walking. So that's how I feel about him.
I think it's overdone. You try to tell people who they are and they have to go to hell, so I don't like it.
Because he has his opinion, he's just determined to shove only that view, and it's a pretty radical view down your throat. I'm pretty religious. I like to think of myself as really religious, and I can't agree with almost anything that he's saying, that unless you spend all day worshiping God, you're going to hell.
As one can see, there is an overwhelming consensus of opinion about the preacher's actions. Though two students didn't seem to mind, the rest were clear on their views about the Willard preacher. So is there a problem with the Willard preacher and his message, or is there perhaps a problem with the Penn State community?
I believe the university should hold a secular stance on religion and separate any sort of religious ideology from the business and day-to-day activities of the university and its academic research.
I think it's really open. Nobody really judges you one way or the other. You can be religious or non-religious, atheist, whatever, it doesn't matter.
I think it's a public school, so I think that religion doesn't really play into effect at a public school system. I don't really see it too much besides that.
And I think once a lot of kids are out of their parents' wings, they kind of fall from their religion, but I do think that Penn State has numerous amounts of different religious services available on different places of worship if children.
It's really open, and it allows everyone to speak their mind, so I think it's a good environment.
I know a couple Muslims, a couple Christians, a couple Baptists, a couple Catholics.
I think it's pretty diverse, accepting. I don't think anyone really judges anyone of their religion. I think a lot of people aren't too religious on campus, that's what I get. In my experience, everybody's pretty open. They don't really infringe upon anybody else's religious rights. And I think that's probably the best situation to be in a university like this.
If I'm not in the Christian community, right here, it seems a little cold actually.
I think it's pretty diverse. I mean, I'm not really a part of the religious community, but I mean, if I wanted to get involved, I know I could because there's like a million flyers for like a bunch of different things. I don't think it's. I mean, I think if that's your bag, then you should do it.
We decided to see what other public figures had to say about Penn State's religious community. According to Father John Reeves of the Holy Trinity Orthodox Church, the religious environment at Penn State is somewhat superficial, evidenced by the large number of students spending their weekends drinking in bars. Though aware of a spiritual void, he acknowledges that there are communities of practicing Christians as well as students observant of other faiths here at Penn State. In contrast to Father John, Robert Smith, director of the Center for Ethics and Religious Affairs, feels Penn State has a strong religious environment with 61 religious student organizations on campus, including an atheist and agnostic organization. He also points out that most of the religious organizations on campus participate in interfaith programs and treat each other very well. If the religious environment is as open as it seems, what else could be at the heart of the issue?
Have either of you guys ever personally spoken to the Willard preacher? Any of the preachers?
It's actually kind of intimidating.
Really? Like,
Yeah, because he looks, it's just, I don't know.
It looks like he's on some like crazy.
Yeah, it's like almost like he's drugged. That's bad. No, but he's obviously, to each their own. He's got his own opinions. It's great. He likes his religion, but it's definitely intimidating. It's a little scary.
No, I've been talked at by him, but I don't like to argue with people. I have better stuff to do.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen him, but I don't know.
You've seen him around? Very much. And then one more question. Have you ever spoken to the Willard preacher, like one-on-one? Okay.
Most of the students we interviewed had never spoken to the Willard preacher, but were still against his proselytizing. The only students who didn't seem to mind his preaching were those affiliated with an interest group, either religious or the LGBT. In the end, we feel that the problem is not so much preaching on campus, but the lack of dialogue between the Willard preacher and the students. Much of the students' knowledge of the Willard preacher comes from hearsay and from society's preconceptions of someone preaching not from the pulpit, but from the street. Perhaps if more people were to let go of their preconceptions, they might come to realize that a discussion on religion doesn't have to be controversial or offensive, but instead could open up their minds to views and beliefs of others. Now I'd like to give a special thanks to Gary Cattell, Robert Smith, Father John, and to all the students that helped us make this video, and to you guys for watching our History of a Controversy.